Folks, Scott here with my 10 cards, 1 kit with the My Monthly Hero July 2018 card kit. Our stamps and dies are wrapped in lovely red and blue ribbon, 2 pieces of ribbon this month. It's very nice, like 1/4-inch satin ribbon, red and blue. And here is our stamp set for this month. We've got a little merry-go-round, a roller coaster, Ferris wheel, a little snack bar, and this great background. That's got to be at least 5 inches. We've got a plane with a banner, a couple of sentiments that fit in there, a fence. We've got a number of borders all the way around here. This month we get 10 coordinating frame cuts, and we get one 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch fancy die, which cuts this great radial sun ray beam thing. This die in the center here actually cuts our Ticket to Fun. Looks like that fits our Ticket to Fun perfectly. Yes, it does. Stamps, dies. We also get some stamp pads this month. We have the Hero Arts Unicorn White, the Hero Arts Red Reactive, and Blue Reactive. So I believe those inks are reactive with water. Red, white, and blue, pretty appropriate. We also get these very interesting vintage postcards, chipboard postcards, nice and thick, and a good craft color. They've got the back side where you put your address and your message, and the front side is empty for us to decorate. I'm dying to give this fancy die a try. So let's go to the fair. As usual, all of my cards are in the A2 format. That's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now this is only the second fancy frame die that I own. I immediately started cutting that out of some cardstock. This is actually that seafoam glimmer mist that we got in last month's kit. But I started cutting that out, and I had some gold cardstock sitting on my desk. So, of course, I cut one of those out of the gold, and that gave me the idea for my first card on a plain white card base. There's that great frame die, that fancy die. And in the middle there, we've got a ticket. That's a really nice die. I love the reflection that this card gives us. I stamped that ticket on that Tim Holtz, I believe, Coordinations gold cardstock. And, you know, that is a golden ticket, so I couldn't resist. On the inside, you've got a golden ticket and a place for a gift card. Yeah, I did, of course, create that sentiment using my Silhouette software. This is the Circus font. Perfect. I'm going to be using that a lot with these 10 cards. I've got a, you've got a, is the marker felt font. I printed those up in a little dark yellow and black. I would definitely look for a gold gift card if I was giving this to someone. A perfect place for a gold gift card. I have some of these gold photo corners in my stash, so I just use those to make a little holder for a gift card. Plenty of room for a message. Ticket to Fun, and yes, you've got a golden ticket. And of course, I liked this so much that I had to go in and use the negatives for another card. Now, I kind of like this one almost more than this one. I don't know if it's the open white frame around it or the double gold at the ticket. These are both lots of fun. Of course, I set this one up with the same gift card options. This one says, I've got a golden ticket, which of course is a much more of a direct quote to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket. Great gift cards. We're going to call that 1A and 1B. So I'm not cheating. It's not going to be 2 cards. That's 1A and 1B with that great frame die. I'm sure I'll get a lot of use out of that die over the years. Now, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook or anything, you know I went a little crazy with this cute little balloon stamp and colored up a bunch of balloons using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers on some Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I originally thought I was going to color all these balloons in just primary colors, but then I realized that I could make little patterns using those stripes on all the balloons. So I just broke out my Pigma Micron pen, permanent pen 005, and I used that pen to draw little patterns on the balloons and colored them accordingly. So my big question was, do I use just 1 or 2 balloons, or do I use all 7 of those balloons on one card? Of course, I went for it. On card number 2, we've got Enjoy the Ride with all 7 of my colored balloons. I really like this a lot. Now, for the mountains down here, I actually took that fair background and traced it on some masking paper. So I created a mask for my mountains on a piece of masking paper. I cut those masks apart and used those to mask my background here. I used my mini ink blending foams and distress ink in antique linen and vintage photo for my little mountain down here. I reached for my ink blending brushes, the My Favorite Things mini cloud edges stencil, and my Broken China Distress Oxide ink for the clouds in the background. Very nice, very pretty. I love those balloons. They die cut beautifully. I stamped the Enjoy the Ride sentiment on a piece of white cardstock and embossed that. Give it a little shine. I stamped that with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I foam taped that up on the card front, foam taped all the balloons in a nice arrangement. It kind of looks like they've all just taken off. I've got 1 balloon on front of the sentiment, 1 balloon just under the sentiment, and 1 little bronze sequin at the end to balance everything out. I really like this because it doesn't necessarily say county fair. Enjoy the ride. It's one thing I've never done is taken a hot air balloon. Bucket list. I really liked this happy birthday stamp down here. Now, I didn't really think it had a lot to do with the overall county fair theme, but I really liked the fact that it was kind of a retro sign. It reminded me of an old hotel sign blinking, no vacancy, no vacancy, no vacancy. So I had recently watched Jennifer Maguire's sliding pop-up cards, highlighting a new set of dies from Sunny Studios, the Sunny Studios sliding window die. Well, of course, that die is not available till August, but I thought I could possibly do the same thing on my silhouette, using my silhouette to create a sliding window pop-up card. So for card 3, we've got a great happy birthday card that slides to reveal a gift card and that great happy birthday sign standing in the distance. Can you see that? Now, I did use my Silhouette software to create this basic card front. It's really quite simple, just a flap inside of a frame with 3 score marks in it. So it folds closed, folds open, goes closed, goes open. Now, what I liked about being able to do this on the Silhouette is I can change the decoration around the outside of this frame to anything I want. Now, I took the little lights on the happy birthday stamp as a cue to do my little lights around my window frame. I actually went so far as to use my Silhouette to cut this little bitty yellow frame that puts color behind all of those little holes in the card front and still leaves the center open to be white. As you can tell, I cut a few of those. They're on hand, ready to use for the next sliding window card I want to make. This is a portion of that background stamp, stamped with the unicorn white from the kit. 3 little fireworks in the sky. I created this little signpost, again using those little circle dots for lights. I attached a pull tab, which is just a little bit wider than the frame opening, and actually used a little bit of that blue ribbon from the kit. And of course, there's a gift card there. You could put in a sentiment that would be revealed when this is pulled. This is on a regular card, so I figured we could write what we want on the inside, make this a little bit of a surprise. That happy birthday stamp looked so much like a sign, I thought it was very appropriate to put it on some kind of a retro signpost. I stamped that on some plain white cardstock. I did stamp that on some yellow cardstock as well, and fussy cut that arrow out and then just paper pieced that on the white cardstock. This is colored up with some of my colored pencils, a couple of shades of blue and a little gray on the sign itself. I love that background fair stamp. It is so detailed, and that unicorn white ink stamped so nicely on this blue cardstock. I really like this quite a lot. It's a little strip of that yellow cardstock at the top and bottom. Really a great fun interactive card. Happy birthday. Blink, blink, blink. Now, I was eager to play with this roller coaster stamp. I thought that was really interesting. And if it had any of the detailing that the happy birthday stamp did, then that would be a lot of fun. So I started stamping that out, and I wanted to find a way to see through this stamp. I thought that the frame cut for it, though cutting it beautifully, the great thing about a roller coaster is that you can see through all of the structure. So I reached for my heat-resistant acetate that you can emboss on, use it with an embossing folder. This is the first time I've used this, and I wanted to give this a try with that roller coaster stamp. So on another white card base, we've got I'm Here For You Through Ups and Downs, with a roller coaster stamped on that acetate. And you can see the little fairground behind it. Lots and lots of embossing powder on this card. So this is some old jewel yellow Recollections cardstock of mine. I stamped this sentiment in the red reactive ink from the kit, embossed that with some clear embossing powder. I did emboss those little dotted border. I think of those as little lights, bing, 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 little trailer lights. Emboss that just in clear underneath that sentiment. I stamped a portion of the fairground background stamp on the back here using some of the soft granite Hero Arts ink from last month. And then I stamped this roller coaster on some of that heat-resistant acetate. I stamped that with my Versamark ink, and then I embossed it with, that is the Simon Says Stamp Steel Blue embossing powder. That came out really, really nice. Now, of course, the track border, that little corner border that looks like a track, obviously works perfectly with a roller coaster. There's your roller coaster track. Watch out for that corner. I matted this whole piece down on a piece of dark red cardstock onto a white card base. I did mount the acetate embossed roller coaster up on some foam tape, so there is a little bit of dimension there. Little pieces of foam tape behind the track sections holds that up nicely. Really fun card. I really liked using that acetate. I thought it worked perfectly for this roller coaster stamp. I'm here for you through ups and downs. That sentiment seems to be made for this stamp. Now, one of you terrific followers out there pointed me to a great sale that was going on, a great die sale that was going on at LDRS Creative. And I did take advantage of that sale that was going on and bought a few dies. This is a fancy rectangle and layers die. I thought this shape looked very fair-like, very carnival-like, very circus-like. These are very good dies. I love the kind of baby blue color of them. LDRS Creative, I don't think they have this die anymore. It was on sale. I think I got it for like $2.50 or something ridiculous. But for my next card, there we go. We're not on a white card base anymore. This is a light blue card base from my stash. Life is a carnival game. Now, once I realized that I had this great circus font in my stash, I knew I kind of had free rein to make almost any sentiment that I wanted that would go with this kit. I even went so far as to change the name on this snack bar. So it's no longer a snack bar, it's a games bar. So these are the die cuts. I die cut those in orange, die cut that in yellow, and I die cut one in that dark red that I used as just a little shadow on the left here. I glued those all together. I printed this sentiment up on my printer, of course, using that circus font, and the is using the Gaudy Heavy Face BT font. You can find links to those fonts on my website, CardCutups.com. I printed that in orange and black on this yellow cardstock. I stamped the little snack bar on some Bristol Smooth cardstock, colored that with my Zig brush markers, and I replaced the little, it says snack on the original stamp, but I went for games to go along with my sentiment. There you can see how little itty bitty is. That's the Arial Rounded MT Bold font that I was able to get to fit in there. Change snacks to games. I thought that went well with tickets and prizes. Life is a carnival game. I did stamp that dotted border again, top and bottom here. Embossed that in white this time. A little shine. Die cut this, added it to the card front with some foam tape. Foam taped this whole panel to some cardstock. And I actually took that My Favorite Things cloud stencil and some of the white unicorn ink from the kit and did a few clouds in the background just to soften up that soft blue. Everything's going in an angle. Life is a carnival game. You can't win if you don't play. I'm sure most of you don't know this, but my older brother is a carny. He has worked the carnival circuit his entire adult life. I actually spent the summer with him on the carnival circuit one summer, a couple of years after college, and I had to create an alternate sentiment for the inside of this card as well. So you've got that rather optimistic, you can't win if you don't play sentiment, or you've got this one, life is a carnival game, rigged. For those pessimists among us and for those big cynics out there. Life is a carnival game, rigged. And I can tell you firsthand that most of the rumors, legends, and stories of carnies and carnival folk is true. They are all true. Now, I had all these negative pieces from cutting those dies on the prior card. Look at that. Cutting these dies on the prior card. So I took the yellow and the dark red one for this next card. Again, we're on that light blue card base. We've got You Make the World Go Round. Again, it seems like this sentiment was made to go with the Merry Go Round. I glued those two negative pieces of that die cut together and then cut them with my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die, of course. I stamped again the portion of that fair background stamp, stamped that in the red reactive ink from the kit and embossed that in the bottom so it showed through that window just nicely, a little shine to that. I stamped the sentiment in my Versamark Onyx black ink, embossed that as well for a little shine, colored the world with a couple of shades of red colored pencil. I stamped the merry-go-round on some Bristol Smooth cardstock and used my Zig markers to color that up, die cut that out, put that up with some foam tape, added the whole panel to this card base with some foam tape. I did break out my zigzag border die. This is a Doris border die in zigzag, and cut some more of that red cardstock for these little zigzags on the side. I used some of my Nuvo drops in, I believe it's Morning Dew. And finally, for a last little touch, I added one of my old heart brads right in the center underneath the sentiment. This has got some nice dimension and shine. I used lots of embossing powder this month. I think the stamps just kind of called for it. Not a lot of sequins or sparkly bits, but lots of shiny embossing powders. You make the world go round. And you probably know that I do try my best to use as many stamps in a stamp set with our monthly kits as possible. I was having a little bit of a hard time figuring out how to use this little here arrow stamp down here. There's also a frame die for that as well. So for my next card, we go to a regular plain blue card base. A couple of things happened that made me create this card. And one of those was finding this great pattern paper in my stash. This is a Tim Holtz old paper pack that I've had for a long time. This is so perfect for this stamp set. I couldn't resist using a piece of pattern paper for this card. Now, I stamped, colored, and die cut 10 of those here arrows. Just for some plain cardstock, nothing fancy there. Used my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers to color those. One, I left just a light off-white, red, blue, and yellow for all the rest of those. I die cut this U with a alpha die that I believe was from a Love from Lizzie, the Love from Lizzie Oh Baby kit. This was just the right size. I cut it out of that gold cardstock that I used on my first card. Cut 4 or 5 black layers as well, glued them all together. You've got a U in the middle of this card with all of these here's pointing to it. Now, I did arrange the here's around this U using one of my Gentleman Crafters handy guides for pattern stamping. I used the oval grid with 10 sections to help me lay out those 10 arrows around that U. I did stamp a little fence stamp in the blue reactive ink on the top and bottom here. That pattern paper is cut out with that stitched rectangle die, a thin white mat behind that, then glued directly to my blue card base. Very colorful, very fair-like, very carnival and circusy. And what the hell does it mean? Wish you were here. Yes, I did print this on my printer using my Silhouette software. This is the Blackjack font, a new font I got just a month or two ago. There will be a link to that font on my website, CardCutups.com. I thought this was almost punny. I really like the look of this, and I do think that sentiment brings it all together. Wish you were here. I wasn't quite finished playing around with this fancy frame cut, and I saw again another Jennifer McGuire video where she die cut this out on a larger piece of cardstock and extended the rays all in one direction. I wanted to try that, see if I could create something a little different with that die. And so for our next card, we go back to a white card base. Hello, sunshine. I was able to move that die all the way down to the bottom of a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch cardstock. I did not die cut the very top of the die, so I only did partial die cutting, and then used my craft knife to cut out the rest of those, trying to keep that little thin border along the edges for those 3 sides. This feels like the sun is coming up. Oh, what a beautiful morning. If this was Oklahoma, we all be set. This was a perfect opportunity to use that hello stamp from the kit. I stamped that in some Acorn archival ink and then printed the sunshine below. I printed that, of course, on my printer. This is the Potomac font. There will be a link to this font on my website, CardCutups.com. I, of course, went in with my Spectrum Noir sparkle marker and added a lot of sparkle just to the die cut piece. I ink blended the card front with my Simon Says Stamp hybrid inks in lemon zest, watermelon, and orange slush. Those are ink blended on the card base. This is ink blended with just the lemon zest for the top piece. Everything was white to begin with. Added some sparkle to that. Hello Sunshine, I colored that hello with my Zig Clean Color markers. Hello Sunshine, there's another use for that fancy background dye. Now, the come one, come all sentiment seemed to me to be screaming to be used as an invitation card. And I went ahead and stamped that Ferris wheel on some Bristol Smooth cardstock. Colored that with my Zig markers on a white card base. We've got come one, come all to the greatest birthday party on earth. There's a hand pointing to fun, and on the inside, a for, a when, and a where for a great birthday party invitation. Now, using those same Simon Says Stamp hybrid ink cubes, I ink blended a background here. I stamped the fairground stamp in the red reactive ink on the bottom, and I stamped that end to end. So we actually get the half of a Ferris wheel on one end. We get the other half of the Ferris wheel on this end. That extended that stamp really nicely and kind of highlighted Ferris wheels. This is a big fair. They have 3 Ferris wheels at this fair. I thought that was fun, and it gave us just a little bit of a different look to this background stamp. Gives us that nice roller coaster on the right side of our card instead of the left side of our card. I stamped the come one, come all in the blue reactive ink and embossed that with clear. Embossed that star border stamp right behind that in white. I stamped the airplane and banner in black onyx ink, the welcome in the red reactive ink, die cut that out, colored the hand with Zig markers, die cut that out. In order to satisfy my intolerable urge to see through this Ferris wheel, I went ahead and fussy cut the inner spokes. One little golden gem right in the center of that for a little sparkle here. This is a great invitation card, although I don't think I'd make a lot of these. I would only make a party of one, please. Welcome, come one, come all to the greatest birthday party on earth. Of course, I printed that on my printer using my Silhouette software. That again is the Circus font and the Lucida Grand font. I did get a chance to use all of those balloons. I like using those together. Those are all from the stamp set. I just stamped that on the writing surface, colored those with my Zig markers, add tiny touches of white highlights to them with a white gel pen. This is a really, really a nice birthday invitation. I had such a good time creating my first galaxy background with the mermaid in last month's kit, so I thought a galaxy might be appropriate to use with this stamp set as well. We're doing skies and backgrounds, so why not? I also haven't had any real puns yet. There were so many sentiments in the kit. I like the Life is a Carnival game, but that's not quite a pun. I had what I thought was a great idea for a pun for this month. And so for our last card, this is on a white card base. Love Affair. Oh, look at that nice galaxy background. This is a little more subtle than my galaxy for the mermaid because I'm not highlighting any stamp. It's just a nice background sky. I used a different brush to do my star spatter, and I thought it came out really nicely. I really like that background. Of course, I did ink blend that background using my Distress inks, and I used my finger daubers to blend this together. Instead of a big round ink blending tool, I use the finger daubers. A little bit more detail available with that, a little bit more softness and subtlety. I stamped the fair background stamp, embossed that in white, 3 of the fireworks up in the sky. I then matted that to a thin piece of white cardstock. I matted that onto this red, white, and blue striped cardstock. I actually stamped that cardstock using just a single stripe stamp and the red and blue reactive inks from this kit. I did just do the edges. I didn't stamp everything in the middle here, but it gave a nice little highlight around the edge of this card. That's all glued down to a white card base. Love Affair, I of course printed using my Silhouette software. That of course is in the Circus font. The Love A is in the Palatino font. I sized this so it would fit the ticket die from the stamp. So I sized that so I could cut it out with the ticket die, and it still has that little ticket dimension to it. Now, yes, that is pink and black. I thought the pink went well with the pinkish bits in the background of the sky. Love Affair. A few little gold gems in the middle of the fireworks gives a good sparkle to them. I did, of course, hit this all with my sheer shimmer spritz for some big time sparkle in the sky. Really pretty. I love that pun, but we can go one step further. Love Affair. And on the inside, Carnival knowledge. Oh, now there's a pun for you. Oh, that makes me giggle every time I say it. Love Affair, Carnival knowledge. I love that galaxy background. I'm going to keep experimenting with those galaxy backgrounds every time I get a chance. Now, I was so involved in making all those cards this month that I kind of forgot about the fact that we had these postcards in our kit. So I've got 3 postcards. What am I going to do with them? Well, I have collected images for years and years and years. I had this one image that I knew would make a great postcard. So I thought it'd be great fun to do just some simple image postcards using these postcard backers. So this is my favorite. Step right up, kissing booth, 5-cent smooches, pucker up. I just printed that out on my printer, ran it through my Xyron sticker maker to apply adhesive all over the back, mounted that on that postcard backer. I did a little bit of ink blending on the edges to distress the edges a little bit, and then I did use my Distress Glaze to go over the top of this and make it more waterproof. That actually gives it a little waterproofing. You can see it actually gives it the tiniest bit of a sheen too. 5-cent smooches. And I thought the whole design of that just went with this whole retro postcard perfectly. I also went to, we've got a Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus image. Perfect. Found that in my stash too. A great postcard again, and very much on theme. And then for my last one, I went for this great Carnival image with a harlequin and a ballerina. It says Carnival down there. Did a tiny bit of ink blending on the edges to distress those edges just a little bit. I love this kissing booth image. So those are my 10 cards this month, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, it's 14 cards if you count the extra Ticket to Fun on my first card and our 3 postcards. That's 14 cards for this month. Needless to say, I had a great time working with this set and playing with all of these images and die cuts. I know that that fancy frame die will get a lot of use in the years to come. I think a lot of these images and scene builder stamps in this will get a lot of use. I think we've got some really fun, colorful carnival, fair, circusy cards this month. I hope you enjoyed these cards as much as I enjoyed making them. I had a really great time with this stamp set. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me here today. Please like me, list me, pin me, post me, share me with all of your friends. Don't run with scissors. Don't take any wooden nickels. And happy crafting. more detailed information, better pictures, and product links, please visit my website at CardCutups.com.